If your advisor is not looking at these three areas, you're probably going to be paying more in tax, getting less
Nobody likes
income,
that. Yeah.
and missing out on some easy wins.
So tell me, what are some of these things? You mentioned three main areas that an advisor needs to be looking at. So what are those three areas?
You know, the first one I like to call tax bracket optimization. So how do we take advantage of the tax bracket you're in order to keep more money in you and your family's pocket?
Okay.
So there's some different strategies that you can do, but one of them we like to look at, for most people is Roth conversion strategies.
Okay.
Right. And so sometimes to convert or not convert is the question.
How poetic.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it doesn't mean it's going to be right for everybody, but you should always be taking a look at it, because if you're at a 12% bracket and you've got a lot of room to run up to the next tax bracket, you're going to be paying those taxes anyway at some point.
Right.
So why not go ahead and pay some of them and smooth out your taxes throughout.
So am I going to
retirement.
pay less taxes now, or am I going to pay less taxes later?
Or more.
Or more taxes later, and then that maybe helps inform the decision about, does it need to be Roth? Does it just need to be a regular IRA? That's interesting that you would go there. It's very interesting that you would go there, because what is it that most people are expecting? You go to a financial advisor's office, you sit down for a meeting, and the first question that
How much
can come
money
up,
can you make me?
Yeah. What return? What percent return can you make?
Yeah, and what's really bigger, making 8% or saving 10 or 20% on taxes?
Yeah, and that's just something that most people don't think about, because the idea is, I want to make more, not I want to keep more. If you make more, that's all fine and well. But if at the end of the day of making more, you end up paying more to Uncle Sam.
Oh, yeah.
If you end up doing that, did
that
you
uncle nobody really wants to see.
Yeah, did you really make more?
Yeah. Well, and at the end of the day, the rate of return is only relative to the amount of time you have to make it. So if you've got 30 years is going to make a really big difference if you're making a 6% or an 8%.
Yeah.
But if you've only got 5 years before you retire or something like that, then that 2% or so difference that you may make, 2-3%, isn't going to add up to that many more dollars over that short a time frame.
Right.
So why take the risk?
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, it just seems like an easy win, some low-hanging fruit, really, where you need somebody who is competent and who can do those calculations and be able to forecast things with accuracy in order to understand, okay, what tax bracket am I in now? How is this investment or strategy going to affect my tax bracket going forward? And what does this look like 5, 10, 20, 40 years down the road? We meet with people, sometimes they're in their late 20s. They're making some very serious decisions that are going to be cooking for the next 40 years, some 50 years, some of them. How they make those decisions is important. And what we're trying to say is optimizing your tax bracket and utilizing that, and it's just not brought up as often as it should be. It's just right there to be had. So there's three main areas that a financial advisor should be looking at. What's the second?
No, the second point is how you coordinate taking your Social Security benefits with the other cash flow that you have.
So again, you're not talking about investment, rate of return. That's not even on the list just yet.
No.
So Social Security benefit, when you claim it, why does that matter?
Well, it's never a cookie cutter decision, but that's the way most people make that decision.
Yes.
So
absolutely do.
You've seen it. We're doing a financial plan for somebody, and we adjust when they're going to take that Social Security number, and it's different for everybody, but it's usually one of the most impactful factors.
Very, very impactful.
right? It makes the biggest difference on the percentage chance of success that someone's going to have.
Because that's a stream of fixed income, somewhat fixed. I know it can change a little bit based on the death of a spouse and such like that, but it is somewhat of a fixed income to take you all the way down the runway.
Yeah. And you'll get, inflation adjustments a lot of the time with Social Security, but it never gets really looked at as an investment. Let me ask you this. So if you could get an investment that you knew from the time you were 62 to your full retirement age, it's different for everybody, but in our case, 67, right? We're young. But if
I'm a little younger.
So if I have something that's going to get me from 62 to 67,
okay,
right,
okay,
that's going to be guaranteed to grow 6% every year. What else does that?
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Barring, I hear all the arguments, like Social Security's going away, all that. I don't bite off on that for other reasons. Another video. But I'm from 67 to age 70, it's going to grow 8% every year.
8%.
Like, that's what most people want to try to target, well, the realistic ones, on an aggressive portfolio. And you're not going to worry about swinging around. So, not saying that you should wait till age 70, everybody, to take Social Security.
It depends on who you are.
And what your situation is.
That's exactly right.
But you should at least consider it, right? At least think about it a little bit.
Right. Notice just how much people can be influenced by their friend's decision when it comes to this. My friend took Social Security at this point. It's worked out great for them. They're able to do this. They're able to do that. Therefore, it must be right for me. What Mama always used to say, well, if everybody else jumped off a bridge, would you do it too?
Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy. don't be the guy that just does what everybody else does.
Yeah. Is it right for you and your family? Is that other individual going to take care of you and your family?
The difference in something working for you and something being optimal. You can get by, but are you really understanding and have the knowledge to be optimal and achieve your highest goal?
Yeah, most people operate off a herd mentality.
Yeah, and just assume, well, it'll get me by.
Yeah.
It got Joe by. Ricky by, and it'll do the same for me. Like you said, don't be that guy. I took my middle child, my son, to an archery shop the other day, and we were tuning some bows.
That sounds dangerous.
Oh yeah, it is. And while we were there, it's just there was a lot of business in there. We're coming up on the season, and so there's just guys in there, and they're all talking shop and things. The guy sitting there, he was just talking about Social Security because he just got to the point where he's getting ready to start taking it. And he's
talking about this at a bow shop?
Yeah. There's some strange things that get talked about.
It's great where people get advice.
I heard him, and he was just like, yeah, I'm taking Social Security as soon as I can get it. Working here at Tri-Oak, my antenna went up. We had just gone through a Social Security workshop that we put on every year for our clients and for some guests. And I just turned to him and I said, hey, man, real quiet, said, there's some things that you might want to take into consideration. I know Social Security will be available to you at that age, but that doesn't mean that it's the best decision to make. There's a lot of things that you need to take into consideration. And he threw out a usual response. Well,
the basic math.
I'm not going to get my money out. I need to take it as early as possible because I paid so much in and I need to get all my money out.
Yeah, basing it on his life expectancy, not considering any other people in that situation.
Yeah, and I was like, hey, man, I said, you need to consider this. I said, if you wait, every year you wait, you're getting an increase. So if you can have some sources of income other than Social Security and you can delay and offset that a little bit, you're going to give yourself a raise. And he's like, oh, I don't know. And I said, are you married? He said, well, yeah. I said, well,
what does she think about it?
Yeah. And I started to kind of explain a little bit about how the spousal situation works and how Social Security. He said, well, mine's going to be a lot higher number than my wife's. And I said, well, it can be even higher. If you can live off of her Social Security as a supplement, delay yours Then if, like you're saying, because he was jokingly being somewhat morbid, I said, well, what happens if you live to 85? Oh, I'm not living that long. I don't want to live that long.
But what about your wife?
And that's when I asked. I said, hey, well, what about your wife? I said, because if you pass away, you realize that you get the higher of the two amounts. That's kind of like a life insurance policy on you. It's going to benefit your wife. And he kind of went, huh, really? So you're right. Don't be that guy who's just cookie cutter, thinks I'm going to take it as early as possible. There's a lot of questions to be asked. It's a nuanced discussion to have. So we've got to talk about tax mitigation, Social Security timing.
Yep.
Okay. What will be a third? Let's talk about that third main area that a financial advisor should be talking about when you go meet with them.
Yeah. Doing reviews on your beneficiaries and making sure that your accounts are titled in the appropriate manner to match what you got going on in your will. Just because you have a will doesn't mean that the assets listed in that thing are going to pass by that document. A lot of people confuse this all the time.
Okay. Kind of explain that a little bit. So you have a will. Is it a good idea to have your non-probatable assets match that will?
Absolutely. I mean, if you've got an IRA or life insurance, right, annuity, any of those kind of things have beneficiary designations on them. And the way the law works today is that is how those assets are going to pass. So you can go into your will and say, hey, this annuity goes to Betty Joe, right?
Right.
They can do that.
But does it say
Addie
that?
Joe.
Does it? That's right. That's right.
But does it say that on the beneficiary designation?
Right. So we got a conflict here between what the will says and what this non-probatable asset says.
And guess which one's going to win?
The non-probatable asset.
That's right. It's what's on the IRA. It's what's on the annuity. It's what's on the insurance. That's it.
So you're saying you need to do this third main area that an advisor needs to address is beneficiary and asset titling.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, I made my will. It's set. Okay. Maybe I did it 10 years ago. Maybe I'm in my 60s and the average lifespan of men in my family, let's just say, is 85. Well, I already made my will, right?
Well, have you ever had life throw you a curveball?
Haven't we all?
You know a little bit about curveballs, don't you?
A few things.
Well, the moral of the story is that things change.
Right.
Except your affinity for steak.
I love a good steak.
So a couple weeks ago.
You're going to go there?
Yeah. So we're at this conference, and Jordan and I and our wives went to dinner one night at the steakhouse, and we're sitting there, and obviously you go to a steakhouse, you're going to have steak, right? Right. So we're sitting there eating, and Jordan starts sawing into this. What was a pepper crust? What was it?
Okay. All right.
He's going to set the stage for us.
It was a 14-ounce ribeye with a truffle crust.
Truffle
crust. It was special.
Yeah. So Jordan saws into this thing, puts one bite in his mouth. He just like collapses back in his chair, eyes closed. It was
a moment.
And the lady across from us is like, is it bad?
She thought I was like sick or something. And I
Are you okay?
I just went, just let me enjoy this.
Yeah. And so Julia, his wife, kind of goes into this, oh, Jordan's just got this big affinity for steaks and all that. Man. And I'm like, I have no problems with that as long as he doesn't do anything weird with it.
That's right. Because I don't think that my love for a medium rare steak, especially a ribeye with a truffle crust, I don't think that that's going to change. Yeah. But to get us back on track,
really,
here, Eddie. So we're talking about beneficiary and asset titling.
Yeah.
How we should talk about that in reviews, because while our affinity for steak doesn't change, there are things that change in life.
Yeah, laws can change. You can get divorced.
You get divorced.
Somebody passes away unexpectedly before you.
Or how about this? We'd never wish this or any of those things, but relationships change. Relationships get fractured. And I think we've all observed that before. where kind of the infamous line on a TV show where you're out of the will.
Yeah. You get spendthrift all of a sudden in the family.
Yeah. How often should that be reviewed?
Yeah. If there's a major life change, immediately.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
But, at least every couple years. Like I'd say 3 to 5 years, something like that on average, unless there's a major life change.
Right. So tax bracket optimization is your advisor talking about the tax bracket you're in, how to optimize that and keep money in your pocket, not focusing solely on rate of return, what can you make, but what can you keep, okay? The second is Social Security timing. Are you going to optimize that benefit? Are you going to optimize that an investment? Are you going to maximize that for yourself, for your spouse, and for the inheritable assets that you're going to leave to those who are behind you? And that comes to that third point, making sure that it is reviewed consistently, as frequently as needed, looking at beneficiaries, the will, and these non-probatable assets. So the assets that have beneficiaries listed on them are in line with our will.
Right.
So what you didn't say is that when you go into your financial advisor's office, they need to guarantee you a return. They need to boast about, hey, I can get you this percent. What's the reality on that? Because I've got a question here. What are some things that advisors do that they should not be doing? Some things that they focus on that they should not be focusing on? You're going to get into the dirt here just a little bit. The first, just talking about returns, boasting about, hey, last year I got this return from my clients, intimating I can get you this return. What's the problem with saying that?
Yeah. And I'd say a vast majority of advisors don't promise a return. That's not what they do. I mean, they do the not made disclosures and all this kind of stuff, but the inference, right? Like, look what I've done, as if that's going to continue on. I'm just not a big believer, and people will argue with us 10 ways a Sunday, but it's just experience, tracking a lot of different really good money managers over time. And I'm just not a big believer in outperformance, right? Or I don't even like to call it a performance, because that indicates you can do something about it. Investment results, right? I'm not a big believer that investment results are going to be that different if someone knows what they're doing.
Right.
Given enough time.
So you take the top advisors, you top money managers, and if you look at all of their results over time, there's probably not going to be one that just gets a super high rate of return, and then everyone else is far behind in second place.
Well, and even if they do, like sometimes you'll see over a shorter period of time, like 3 or 5 years, but then they typically, like as soon as you switch to something like that, then you fall back and you're in the bottom quintile again, right? It's like return chasing. It never seems to work out. You're always on the wrong side of that trade, like I say. And at the end of the day, most of the returns are in a good enough grouping where things like we talked about, tax bracket optimization, make way more of a difference, because how much you keep.
Right.
Because the grouping's so tight, right? So that's one. It drives me nuts.
So an advisor, when you go in, maybe a red flag that should go off is if they immediately start talking about return chasing.
Yeah. If you know what you're doing, that's the easiest thing to do, is build a portfolio.
That's right.
Get an app on your phone, answer a few questions. It'll build a portfolio for you.
And then the reality is this: you build the portfolio, you don't control the market. How can you make promises or guarantees, or even help someone draw the inference that you're kind of guaranteeing it?
Yeah. Worry about the things you can control, not things you can't.
Is there anything else that you would watch out for, like what advisors have done before and what they necessarily shouldn't do?
Yeah. I mean, so just being in inappropriate type of accounts or products.
Yeah, we've seen that.
Well, just the other day,
Yep.
Right. So we had a client in here. He's actually had 2 advisors. He
Mm-hmm.
had us, and then he had another advisor outside of here.
Right.
And that one advisor, for whatever reason, left the firm he was at, went to a different one, and the client basically didn't know what to do because the advisor was then asking him, hey, I'm moving firms, so can you move to this firm with me? So he had to sign some paperwork and such. And when he asked the question to the other advisor, is like, well, how much more in fees is it going to cost? Oh, you don't have to worry about fees.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You don't have to worry about fees. Everything's just going to stay the same. Okay, well, you signed up with them like years and years ago. How are you supposed to remember what you signed a decade ago?
And in what aspect of commerce do you not worry about the cost of something?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So that part drove me nuts. But anyway, and so I don't throw anybody under the bus. That's why I'm not mentioning names, anything like that in here. But give the benefit of the doubt always at first. And it's like, okay, well, if you kind of, let me see your statements. I can give you an idea of what's going on there. Well, it brings the statements in, and oh my goodness. So this guy's got like $100,000 with us, and it's very easy to get to account and real low cost, all this kind of stuff. And he brings in basically the rest of his net worth was like another $400,000 he's got with this other guy, and it's all in like real illiquid stuff, right? The variable annuity, the majority of it's in there. You got living benefit guarantees on it where it's not going to run out of money before you die. But then, the amount that he's pulling out from it's really not like that much different from what you do in a portfolio. You could pull out whatever you want from, and the fees are like twice as much.
And he didn't tell him about them. He goes to an advisor, and I mean, this is this man's near about entire net worth. The advisor says, don't worry about fees. Lo and behold, the fees are double what he should have been paying.
The other one, was a REIT, a real estate investment trust. So these things, it sounds great on paper. Hey, it's going to pay me 6% a year, right? In cash flow, but they don't really grow from what I've seen. And then ultimately, they don't have to pay out that 6%. The manager of the REIT can just sit there and turn around and say, we're not paying anything this month.
And if I remember correctly, the other investment class he put him in was in a variable annuity, and he really stuck him in a catch-22 situation where if he was going to abide by the law and take the required minimum distributions,
he's going to blow up that guarantee.
Yeah. He's going to lose it. And so it's really a devastating investment choice. One of the things that an advisor should not be doing is putting you in an inappropriate investment.
Yeah, especially when you don't know what the heck you're investing in. If it's complicated enough to understand and you don't feel comfortable and you can't just basically understand why you own it, probably don't need it.
And you should know how much it costs you. So, okay, here's another one. Talk a little bit about annuity churning. So what is churning?
So switching out one annuity for another annuity with no real purpose. There's no reason to do it. You're giving this one up.
Oh, there's a reason. There's a reason. So the reason, correct me if I'm wrong, is when that annuity is invested in, a lot of times the advisor is getting an upfront fee. And so every time an annuity is switched, you switch out of one to another fee. And so if an advisor is churning annuities, why is he doing that?
Right. Very often it's not for the benefit of the client.
Correct.
I'm not going to say it's always because I don't deal in absolutes like that. But most of the time it's real hard to chew off. I've been paying this fee for this particular feature or benefit all these years, and now I'm going to give it up to get another one.
Which, by the way, is not legal. It's not ethical.
So let me tell you a story on it.
Okay.
Right. So let's go back a couple years ago. Okay. Had a client that was a referral from my dad, and he had come over to our firm, and he had a few annuities. moved him. Basically, all we did was switch the advisor's name. So he kept the annuity.
Okay.
Because he'd been paying for these benefits all these years, and it was going to pay him a pretty good foundational income in retirement. He'd already had a long time. It's already built up a great benefit base. Going to last for he and his wife's entire lives. So it wasn't something we could just ditch, just get rid of, because they were real market adverse too. So I could see why maybe he bought it.
Yeah.
Well, a few months ago, he calls me and he's like, "Hey, Eddie, the advisor that sold me those annuities that we moved over to you, he called me and said they matured." Which isn't even a thing, right? So they don't mature. It was out of what they call surrender period. So he could get rid of it if he wanted to without penalty, right? But the advisor said it matured. It's time to do something else with it. And he calls me, right, because I'm the advisor on the contract now, and I'm just like, no, you don't want to move it. And I went through all the reasons why. He thought he had to do something with it. And he didn't know who to believe and all this, so I had to get all the research out, show him.
Yeah.
It just drives me nuts, man.
And the saddest part about that, who does it hurt? I mean, it's hurting the very people you're supposed to be serving. So you need to be very careful about talking to an advisor who is not a fiduciary. So fiduciary, what that means is that you are acting on behalf of and for the benefit of the client that you are representing, and you actually subordinate your own benefit to make sure that they have the optimal benefit. How often do we have people who come in and they want to use us, and what we end up saying is, hey, we're not going to make any money off of this, but this strategy is going to be better for you. And so that's what we want to do.
Right.
Because it's good for you. It's our ethical responsibility, and you need to know that you can trust us. You shouldn't leave money on the table.
Right.
You need to find out the kind of moves, the kind of strategies that are going to help you optimize your retirement when you get to those years. Having a good financial advisor in your corner can help you achieve that.
You can also comment the word services in the comment section below, or follow the link in the description. And that'll give you a PDF of the full list of services that we provide here at Tri-Oak if you don't have a trusted fiduciary financial advisor.